Good morning, and welcome back. This is going to be a very special episode of Who Am I? I have been threatening to change things for the last week, and the change is going to come in a different way. I've been feeling the stirrings of negative emotion, and they've been making me rethink my path. Now, I've been claiming on my show for the last however long that I was going to do this show every day for all eternity. But I'm going to start on a different project, and I may start on it in just a few minutes, actually. We'll see whether I do much in reference to this show, Who Am I? Or whether I jump right to my new project. But I did want to tell you that I think I'll be posting Who Am I's more like a couple of times a week. And I'm going to start working on a project of my own. I think I want to write a novel, or at least conceive of a story. Now, whether I'm the one who fully fills in the frame of the novel, we'll see whether I have the capability of doing it or not. I do have a way with words sometimes, but I have no practice in writing novels, and I'm well, we'll see whether I can pull a what was her name? Hold on a second. The name I was reaching for was Jessica Fletcher. We'll see whether I can pull off a Jessica Fletcher. She didn't start writing until she was in her 50s, and then she became very famous. I don't need to become very famous. I just want to write a good story. I have a good story in my mind, and I would like to develop it. And so I'm going to spend more of my time during the week doing that, and it's going to hog this same time period because I like to do the Who Am I really early in the morning. It's fresher when I come up from sleep and I don't have a day in front of me. My mind is much blanker very early in the morning, and I can just jump into my big picture discussion of everything. So the question of the day is always, who am I? Who am I? Why am I here? Where did I come from? What am I made of? What are the rules of the game? I've been having a bit of an issue of my own and needing to use all of these tools in order to find my way. Because I'm sitting here, we're retired. I have on purpose sort of made myself not busy. And I think I've done it because I wanted to feel what the impulse, what the universe is pulling me to do. I don't want to think it into place necessarily. I want my thinking mind to ride along behind and analyze what's happening, but I don't want it to call the way. I don't want my thinking mind to say, well, this is what I think that I should do, and so I will get out my whip and I will flog myself into doing this, and then I will feel better. I've been feeling a little bit useless, although I don't want to just I don't want just busy work to be useful. I want to find my passion. It's late in life for me, but I don't think it's too late. And I think it's probably even more beneficial for older people. Find your damn passion, and it might stave off decrepitude. Creeping decrepitude. That's old age. So anyway, I'm looking for my passion. I want the universe to tell me what to do. I want to feel that impulse. And I still have my own ideas because, this whole concept of the show Who Am I is an idea of mine, It just seemed like I was doing this stream of consciousness thing in my office that other people might be interested in eavesdropping on. you know? Uh, and I was feeling pretty good about it. And then I started taking score. I started realizing that I really hadn't accomplished much of any listeners, regular listeners. I do have one blessed, cherished fan who makes it a point to check in every day that I have a show, and also is kind enough to leave me a thumbs up every day. They're saying, whoever they are, they're saying, keep it up. I like what you're doing. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm really, really grateful. But I think I'm not going to do quite as many of the shows because I'm going to start working on my novel, the user's manual. Finally, I'm going to start doing it. And I was going to start it this morning, and I may still do that. I may post a half-hour show, just sort of I don't even know, an announcement show combined with a little bit of content. I don't know. Who am I? It's a valid question. And I have a lot to say about the identity muscle. Your plug, that's the who am I plug, where it goes, where you're supposed to be plugging it in and where you're not supposed to be plugging it in. When you plug it in one way, you maybe that's what I was doing. I was plugging my plug in the wrong way. And I experienced a bout of negative emotion. I experienced doubt. Yesterday I was filled with doubt. And a sense of, who am I? Who the hell do I think I am? And what am I trying to do? I'm nobody. I'm nothing. And look, I'm keeping score, and look, there's nobody in the room. I'm touching no one. You know? It was discombobulating, and I was in a bit of a funk through the afternoon, petulant and pouty, and I finally unloaded on my husband. And, well, I just told him, how frustrated I was that I continued to be the only one in the room. I still think it's funny that I feel that way because I have, as yet, done absolutely nothing to make my visibility any different. Now, I only have one connection, and she's supposed to get back to me, and she hasn't gotten back to me, but I should poke her, and then maybe she'd do it faster. I'm not helpless. I am actually the only one that I have direct control over. And supposedly, direct control over yourself is enough. Supposedly, that's enough. It doesn't seem like enough, does it? When it seems like what you need to do to make the world work for you is to get other people to act different. I want to attract someone into my circle who wants to do the things that I want done. That's true law of attraction. But how do you do that? Well, a lot of it is you have to let the universe take care of it the way the universe wants to take care of it. And you have to find a way to rest in faith about it and then just focus your particular self forward from where you are in a positive direction. That's forward, positive direction. Focus yourself. Find a way to do that. Well, what I got a big load of yesterday was a sensation brought about by me focusing for just a moment upon what I was imagining to be true about the universe and about our position and about our danger. Physically, do I believe that we are in danger? Well, danger's one thing. When the rest of the biofield is under assault at the moment, painful, suffering assault, and it is. Have you ever seen that video with the orangutan attacking the big forest cutter in Indonesia somewhere where orangutans are. There aren't that many places where the orangutans still live. Have you ever seen that video? Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Outrage making. Now, the part of me that feels kind of outraged about our situation on planet Earth is also, I know that from a purely vibrational standpoint, which means that my inner being is okay with all of it, even that. Although she knows what I would like, and she knows that I don't really want that, and she would like to guide me towards more of what I want, because that's really what she wants too. We would all feel better. She wants what I want. And so even though she's all right with the sixth mass extinction, she also knows that we will all want more than that. And how do you get both of those in the same room at the same time? Be okay with all of it, all of its pain and suffering and horror. Although, in a way, you don't have to be okay with it. Just find something to focus on that you are okay with, in spite of the fact that the world is the way it is. And because it's only from the positive forward moving position that you're actually going to move the world in a positive forward position. Otherwise, you're part of the other direction, and that's a storm direction. That's a storm of destruction direction. So what did I do? Well, I decided that I needed to work on a different project. That somehow the Who Am I project wasn't fully satisfying me, especially since my listenership is not growing. Maybe I will make it a higher priority. And you know what? It can be a higher priority. It can be a high priority even if I only post 2-3 episodes a week instead of the 7 that I've been doing, because it's part of my own meditative practice to come into my room and talk to myself. I like to do that. I find myself here. Maybe that's why I was so sad that no one listens to me, because I'm putting myself out here. This is where I am coming to. This is where I pull myself out and I say what I think. I say what I feel, and I stream of consciousness who I am. And I find that no one is in the room listening to me. And for a minute yesterday, it felt personal. As a matter of fact, even as I say these words, I can feel the tears stinging the back of my eyes. Nobody wants to listen to me. Although, to be fair, I have not done anything. I almost was hoping that law of attraction, pure law of attraction, would cause a few people to stumble accidentally into the room when following their own impulsive guidance. And that very person would be the one who would maybe reach out to me and say, "Oh my God, I know exactly what you're saying, and I have this tool. I can help you in your presentation." Or some madcap. It was actually pretty. I made the obstacle course pretty difficult to find me, and so I really shouldn't feel bad about this. I should not feel bad about it. I was perhaps manufacturing an artificial reason in order to feel some negative emotion, because I don't feel very much negative emotion these days. But I also don't feel a great deal of positive emotion. I'm fairly neutral. I'm not, I have my own reasons why I think that might be, but I protect my own feelings. I know what I'm doing, and I don't want to change certain things. But I would like to plug in a little more to my passion. And if feeling a jolt of negative emotion, it's actually a course corrector. As I keep doing the same thing by rote every day, and it starts to feel stale, the staleness itself is me wandering into light versions of negative emotion. Because stale is not passion, is it? And I want my show to reflect my passion too. Who am I, as well as who am I? You know, there's so many layers to this. So where are you supposed to plug your identity plug into as you answer that question? I am fill in the blank. Well, I am a physical body to a point. I am tasked by the universe to live a physical life. To be here in the arena. In the arena. We are here in the arena. And I am tasked to be here. I have my ideas about what threatens us existentially as human beings. Most of the people around me are not particularly concerned about existential threats to humanity. But they are, on the other hand, concerned about existential threats to themselves as they are forced to monetize in this world and produce the resources in order to take care of themselves, pay their own rents, and summon to themselves food from the human supply chain of foodstuffs. They are expected to pay their taxes, obey the laws, vote in elections, you need to buy insurance, you need to have health care. And a lot of people are expecting you to do things like get vaccinated and other things, you know. There's a whole list of things that you have to take care of when you're here in this physical body playing the human game. Now, for me, I was actually thinking about my children for some of that because we're retired. We've got a steady stream of income. My husband put in 20 years with the military, and then he put in 20 years working with the military, launching 20th century rocketry into outer space. Isn't that funny that I would be all up about... It's hard to be as big as this. It's hard to be so big that you not only, all of your bread, your vested interest, your bread is buttered on this side, and you've spent many years of your own life in a momentum of living with a man who has spent all of his professional career in the momentum of seeing the worth and value and momentum of basically the military-industrial complex. Now, when you use those words to some people, a specter of horror sort of rises up. You know, the military-industrial complex is the boogeyman that's going to come and get us. It's the glue that holds the infrastructure of the Department of Defense and all the machinery of government in place with all of these corporations who are all in it to make money. And the spirit of the whole enterprise is wrong. And the momentum just grows. And the assumptions about the worth of it all and the value of it all just grows. And now, of course, woven within it is the spirits of human beings, you know, moving forward in our evolutionary time. It's not all 100% bunk, but there's something very, very poison about the whole enterprise, and my spirit balks at it. I don't know how to say it more clearly than that, but when I feel this discord within myself, then I know that there is something in the field that is off. Now, I also know that in order to correct that offness in the field, I cannot move from a sense of outrage. That's negative emotion. That is actually me unplugged from myself. So what the hell do I do with this? What do I do with this? I am moved to negative emotion about something, but then I know from past experience, I know from the times that I have been moved by outrage to do action from a negative position, and it doesn't have the potential of the momentum sweeping you into positive passion, into bliss. Now, it can take you a different way. Through negative emotion, it can take you to a kind of passion. Study the founders of the Third Reich, and not just from any old position. Do it from a dispassionate, academic, disconnect yourself from the emotion of it, while at the same time recognizing the emotion of it. The emotion of it is passionately, this was horribly off balance somehow. Something terribly, terribly, terribly went wrong. And it can't be dismissed as simply as just saying, oh, those people were just evil. And that's the end of it. And in their wickedness, we need to punish them. And then that will never happen again. Well, that kind of thinking is not going to get us where we need to get to, which is a full, clear, conscious understanding of this phenomenon. What the hell was that? That Nazi Third Reich thing that happened. And then millions and millions and millions of fairly decent people, regular people, they had to be lots and lots of regular people, how they all got swept into that. And how it took the world down in a really bitter, vicious way. And took us down too, the Allies. Now, I'm speaking it from an American position. But truly, I am saying this. I ultimately, there is only one of us here. So in order to really understand this phenomenon, you have to take it inside of yourself. You have to understand that we did this. They didn't do this. We did this. And the effect that the difference in those pronouns has on your consciousness and how you absorb what perspective each one of those things, where that puts you. You know? There is no us and them. While at the same time, there's obviously me and you, which is a kind of us and them. You know? And then there's my husband and I and the whole rest of the world. That's kind of an us and them. And then there's my family, my slightly larger family, and all the rest of the world. That's an us and them. Actually, I think that data demarcation is allowed from the micro to the macro. The fully just me and then all of everything else. I think that's an us, a me and you, a me and everything else. That one's allowed. But the us and them, I mean, there is an us and them. I mean, I'm an American and the rest of the world is other people than Americans, but spiritually speaking, at the foundation of us, there is no us and them. There is a single morphogenetic field upon planet Earth that we are inextricably one with. And that field perpetrated the most monstrous atrocities last century. That must never happen again, and I don't think that we're going to be sure it isn't going to happen again until and unless we fully understand the phenomenon. Paul Levy calls it Wetiko. It's a kind of psychic mind virus, a disconnect between the head and heart. When your head and your heart are not connected to one another, then the thoughts that you come up with are stupid, misaligned, unsustainable, and wicked, you could even say. You could call it, you could start calling those actions demonic. You could start calling them all kinds of words that people use, charged with all kinds of energies, as they speak these words to describe the different patterns that they see playing out in the field around us, the wickedness that we see, the way human beings treat one another, you know? And then to imagine that it couldn't happen to you, it can if you ever let your heart and your head disconnect from one another. There's an outfit in California that has spent the last 25 years scientifically studying this relationship, this heart-brain connection. And they can measure it through a device that I have two of them bought to it. One of them I thought I was buying a course, and I actually bought just a book and another one of those devices. It's a heart rate variability monitor. When you put it on, and you can graph this on a computer. You can connect it to your computer through software, and then you connect it to yourself, and as you get into a state of deeper and deeper connection and alignment between your heart and your brain, your heartbeat starts changing very subtly. There starts to become a great deal of variability between the major beats as you achieve a state of probably hyper flexibility, hyper, I don't mean that as in like more than it should be. I just mean expanded flexibility and anyway, the name of the place is the Heart Math Institute. Go look them up. They're very cool. The things that they, and how all that adds into all of this. So I know that whenever you invoke the Third Reich in any way, it's worse than using the G word being God, in the sense that everybody has way too many emotions bundled up into it. It usually, when you invoke the Third Reich or the name of Hitler or anything like that, it's so hyperbolic. It is the epitome of the most extreme case, the momentum of how extreme this disorder can get, and how destructive can the forces that it pulls into itself, this storm of chaos, of destructive energy that can be unleashed upon the world. And I'm telling you right now, the very, very harmless seeming, the banal seeming source, the whole beginning of it is an us and them paradigm. The problem with why that played out the way that it played out. Now, you may have those virulent characters at the center of the whole thing who locked into their mindset, who locked their thoughts into their negative emotions, who moved from their outrage, from their anger, from their sense of injustice. They took that impetus of energy, locked it in, and just flew with it. You know, Hitler described what it felt like to him at some point. His life just swept him away. You know, it was absolutely like barrel down on you, inevitable at some point for him. He couldn't escape it. It just swept him away in this sort of reverse passion. It's a negative passion. You know? He was moving from his outrage. He locked into his outrage and his anger and his sense of grievance and his whatever. And that's what it is. That's what happens. And then people start resonating with that anger about the injustice of the situation, because I can't feed my children and I can't pay my rent. And look at those people over there. They are wallowing in trillions of dollars. And here I am, I can't come up with a lousy couple of grand a month to pay my effing rent. And my child, whom I love more than anything, suffers for it, and I am outraged. And so that was the energy. That was the energy that swept that whole leadership away. And the reason that it was able to get the foothold that it got is because millions of Germans bought into a simple paradigm of us and them. And it had many, many layers to it. Us and them, us and the them, that's the immigrants, the dirty immigrants who are, pressing in on the borders of our country and taking all the good stuff. And I don't understand the words that they say. They use different language. They smell different. Their food is different. I don't like them. And they are taking over the Germanness, and they had this ideal, this beautiful Edelweiss, Heidi in the Alps kind of sanitized view of, with the German architecture and the hardy, hardworking, capable, perhaps loving in a gruff way, sort of German Hausfrau kind of, I don't know. With birds singing and the sun, so whatever, I don't know. That was their ideal. That was who they thought they were. And we need to be careful about that here in America. Anybody who starts getting carried away with, America like it used to be, with the percentage of white people and the square dancing in the barn and eating corn on the cob and fried chicken on the 4th of July, and I don't know. We need to be careful about the imagery that we imagine ourselves to be, and then be resentful of any of the colors or flavors or scents or ideas that encroach upon that sameness that we lock onto, our identity. Who am I? Who am I? We lock it in some sort of material way, and then we're protective of it, and we're got to be careful about that. Remember, the question of the show is, who am I? Who am I? That's the fair and legitimate question we ask all the time. And am I a physical body, or am I a spiritual form? Am I a soul? Am I an energy? Am I a continuum of information and data and energy? Which one am I? Well, I am both, of course, but they come together. They are both aspects of myself, and those aspects come together in a wholeness that is me. Now, who I really am is the impetus within me. The desire, the fire, the flame, the consciousness within me is who I really am, not the physical body whom I inhabit. And I think yesterday the negative emotion was coming as I plugged my plug into the wrong place for just a minute, and I saw myself as my physical body, and I took score for a minute, and I said, you know what? You're lame. you are so lame, and you pretend like you're something or somebody, and you're just nothing but lame. And you know what? It took me down. It took me down because it will. I crossed my own energy stream, and it's what I'm always claiming is the physical activity that is the problem with the world. When you do that thing, you cross your own energy stream. And when you've crossed your own energy stream, you've plugged your plug into the wrong place. And when you've plugged your plug, it's that identity muscle. It's that thing that you do. And it is the easiest way to hobble a human spirit. Get them to cross their own energy stream, and then they take this massive, powerful energy that they are, and they zap themselves in their own solar plexus with it. And then they immediately feel doubt, unworthiness, who am I, inadequacy. I'm doing just fine, and so are you, by the way. Soothe yourself. You are just fine. You are perfect exactly where you are. Because you are also part of a larger field. And the position that you are playing in the greater picture is mandatory. You need to be in the position that you are in order to make the picture of where you are whole. You know, you're valuable, and I am too, but I've decided that I'm going to shift directions just a little bit. I decided though that I needed to do this last show. It's not the last show. It's just don't expect it every single day. And if you are my fan, and I hope you are, please wait expectantly for my next edition. It's not going to be every day. I'm going to be in my office, in my studio, working every day. But it's not just going to be doing the Who Am I show. I'm going to start working on a novel. And when this novel comes out, if you're still the only one in the room, Mr. My favorite person on the planet, the one who listens to me faithfully, and yet you're not a stalker. I don't think you're a stalker. You know, you aren't reaching out to me. I hope you're not looking at over the bushes, saying, I wonder who this person is. I'm not glamorous. Don't do that to me. You don't need to stalk me. I'll come out. I will. But you are my favorite person because you do keep me energized knowing that there is one consciousness out there listening to me. And that's really exciting to me, actually. And anybody else who enters the room, God bless you. Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. But if you're still the only one in the room the day that book gets published, well, you get a signed, free, special edition copy of that on me for sure. So that's what I'm going to be working on some of the days of the week. I will post a Who Am I show at least a couple of times a week. And so if you're a fan of the show, I hope you continue to be a fan of the show. So who am I? Who am I, and how am I constructed? And how do I come to be to a place where I find that I am constructed? I have been constructed. And why is that important? I think it's important because it helps us understand who we are. And I can understand who we are. I can come to a better, clearer, fuller understanding as the days go by, as I continue to look at it from this vantage point. That is true, and I will continue to do so. But I think that it would be more fun if I wasn't the only one in my room understanding this and playing with me. I want someone to come and play with me, is what I want. I became a little bit discouraged about that yesterday. But then I decided, you know what? I cannot operate from a position of discouragement and be plugged into who I really am. It's what I say every day. It's what Abraham says every day. As soon as you hit that negative frequency, boom, you are not connected to your source any longer. And so now what are you going to do about it? There is only one important task now. You got to get back in touch with your source. And what does that mean? You have to get back in touch with your positive self. So I have done this several times in my life before, become outraged about something and then tried to move from the outrage. You know, it's in some ways it's a lot easier to get going from a sense of outrage. If you're sitting in a place of neutrality, it is easier to start moving from a negative state, because all you have to do is be idle long enough and the devil will do his work. Because idle hands are the devil's workshop. They really are. There's a reason why people say that. When you sit around without clear motion forward from your own side, from your own position, from your own positive alignment position, then that daimonic energy that you get as your allowance every day from source, that energy that, you know, opens your eyes in the morning and makes your tummy growl for breakfast, and then, you know, gets your feet out of bed and puts clothes on, and at least that amount of energy. Can you acknowledge that almost everybody has that amount of energy? If they're in deep, deep, deep depression, you start losing even that amount of energy and you don't want to get out of bed. But most people, you know, you can feel that allotment that the universe is giving you. It's daimonic energy. You don't do anything with it, it turns into demonic energy. So if you let yourself be idle long enough, you will get a negative one going. And then if you're like me, who has very little tolerance for negative emotion, I immediately have to pull out and go, well, what does this mean? From my teaching standpoint, what does this emotion that I am experiencing mean about my position? Well, first of all, I know that my inner being does not agree that there's anything wrong with me, or that I've done anything wrong, or that I should feel bad about anything. She's just fine. I just know now that she's leaving me behind. There's opportunities, there's energies, there's things that are moving within my soul, within my continuum, and I'm not keeping up with it, and I'm starting to feel this tension. So I need to do something different. And I have a novel inside of me. I'm not going to tell you right now what the plot of the novel is. I'm going to end this recording a little after an hour. I don't want it to be much less than an hour. I find that the ones that are off of my normal patterns occasionally don't get watched. There's one in the past that looks like it hasn't been watched, but on my phone I can see that it's got a thumbs up, so it has to have a watch, right? If somebody didn't watch it, they just gave me a thumbs up without watching it. And if my fan did that, bless you, you're really kind. You're very, very kind to me to do this. So I'm going to let this go a little bit longer than an hour, and then I'm going to sign off for a couple of days. And I'm going to start working on my new project, my novel, and see if I can get that going. Because doing my show for an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, and then simply returning to my physical life and trying to be a small, regular person in an environment where I am surrounded with literally nobody to play with in this manner. The only one I have to play with is my husband, and the kinds of things that we do, you know, we play with this property that we live on, play with keeping it maintained and improving it here and there. And then we also play in the sense that we we go play golf together a couple of times a week. And then also we play in the sense that we play cribbage. We play a special version that we invented called Crazy Cribbage every single day. At least 2 games. Well, we play every single meal that we sit down to our dining room table in there, by ourselves. We pull out the cribbage board and play cribbage while we eat every single time. And it holds us in the, sitting at the table having a civilized meal together. It gives us something to talk about even if we have nothing in common in the moment. It allows us to acknowledge our playful and affectionate nature to one another. But I'm finding that it isn't enough. I'm finding that it isn't enough because I build up this deep passion during this show while I think about what is possible on planet Earth and what is at stake. The whole biofield. And I say that in a sweeping, dispassionate way. But I love this Earth. The biological beings that inhabit this Earth, the non-human beings, the toads and the robins and the polar bears and the puppy dogs and the towhees and the orangutans and the elephants and the humpback whales and the dolphins and the hermit crabs and the etc., etc., etc. I adore every one of them. The squirrels and the raccoons and the hawks and the hummingbirds and the baby toads. I love them so much. They're just so darling and sweet. And I go out in my yard all the time now. I have a couple of built up, biologically diverse and bountiful areas. And I can go to these 3 areas. One of them has the vegetables that we're growing, and then the other is an orchard, a couple of orchard areas that I have planted, and then the flowers and grasses and stuff that I have encouraged within them, and I walk into these areas and I see the toads. The toads, they hop by quickly. They're fast. They're hard to catch, but they hop by and it makes me feel so good. I love this planet. I love this planet. It is unacceptable to my heart that we are in the middle of a 6th mass extinction. It is unacceptable to me. And I truly have come to believe that over-unity devices are possible. Now, I know that my husband, he has his doubts. He has his doubts about this Greer guy, the one who made the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. And I know that there's some of the places in there where in that movie they are trying to build up your confidence about the reality of extraterrestrials, and in a way their artificial footage about it kind of does the opposite to me. But in spite of that, I still believe them. I believe that the fossil fuel industry and its networks and minions in their way are controlling the paradigm that we are living in. Now, they don't have complete and ultimate control over the paradigm that we're living in, and especially if we come to know who we are, they cannot keep the 21st century from us forever. They've been holding us in the 20th century since the beginning of the 20th century, holding us there. We should have been incrementally moving towards the 21st century, and by the time we hit the 21st century ought to have been here. But it's only chronologically here. It's not technologically here. I have truly come to believe this. I mean, I talk about it every morning, and I add it into everything else that I know, and it adds up, and I just believe that it's true. And I also cling to it as I think that it is Source's answer. Ask and it is given. But you've got to line up with the answer. I think it's the answer. But I got to line up with the answer, not the fact that everybody doesn't see the answer. That's what I want to line up with. Is, oh my God, everybody else doesn't see the answer. But that disconnects me from my source. That disconnects me from my pipeline to the vibrational realization of this truth, that this is a pathway out of the wilderness. The wilderness is all these problems that I elucidate every morning briefly, about why I feel called to do this show. We're still at war. And Americans are at war. Even if we aren't yet supplying the full-throated body of young men going to these wars, we're providing technological equipment. We are providing advisory assistance and some peripheral bodies, boots on the ground here and there. We're not completely disconnected from it. We're just kind of trying to do it from the outside, from the edges, so that it doesn't look like we're at war. But everyone is at war. We are still at war. Because I am a human being, and human beings are still at war with one another. The news has not spread of who we really are and what this exercise of life on the ground is really all about. It hasn't spread. We are still at war. We are still perpetrating the sixth mass extinction. We are still, I know that my own children struggle in scarcity. Scarcity and scarcity consciousness, because scarcity consciousness is actually the problem. Imagining that there's a finite pie that we are in competition over, that is scarcity consciousness. Now, there's more to it than that, though, because the paradigm of using fossil fuels is creating a kind of scarcity that wouldn't be there if we had an alternative source of fuel. And we can't just wait for clean fusion. I'm sorry. One of the reasons that that's not the answer is that that would still require wires and transmission of the energy through the wires. And such a huge percentage of this would be lost. And not only that, a lot of the problems created on planet Earth are things like there are billions of people living on the very edges of civilization who don't have access to any kind of power source. There's no wired first world infrastructure around them with some power plant down the way generating power that they can have access to cook their food. And they're living raw lives out on the bleeding edge. And the only way that they can cook their food is they have to cut down whatever marginal scrub exists in their world and burn it. And that's making the deserts grow. So where's the answer to that in this clean fusion crap? There is no answer to that from the clean fusion crap. That's not what the answer is going to be, and it's such an obvious answer to me that I find it just breathtakingly flooring that I cannot get this one across to my husband. That the answer has to be everyone being able to plug into source energy wherever they are. And the reason I think that he doesn't believe it, or he doesn't see it, he doesn't know it in his heart that this is possible, is because he has not spent hundreds of hours musing to himself about what source energy is. When you think about it and you draw the picture of it, the wholeness of it, the imagination of it, the layman's description, put it together in spatial, whatever, in your own consciousness. You put it in there and you look at it and you ponder it and you think about it and you imagine it. It makes so much sense that all beings anywhere can plug into source energy and run their equipment. It's not just you and your body coming out of source energy. It's all things come out of source energy. And we should be able to plug our technology directly into source energy wherever we are. And imagine how that would change the game. It's breathtaking. And if you even imagine for a minute that that's actually real and possible, think about it. If there are such things as extraterrestrials coming from whatever, they're not carrying energy with them. They don't have tanks full of stuff that they're burning as they got from that side of the galaxy to this one. Anyway, game changer. And I get so excited. I get so excited because there is a part of me that just thrills to this idea that our problems could be solved, that war could be truly coming to an end here really soon, that it is possible that we're going to understand who we are, and we're going to start living out of who we are instead of banging around so painfully in the places where we are not. Wow. Who am I? And what is this exercise that I find myself this exercise called life? How am I supposed to navigate this? Well, whenever you find yourself in negative emotion, just know that, first of all, that's not who you are. Now, all the things that I am still upset about, I'm still upset about. But I can't act from that impulse. I can only know that it is valid that I am upset about those things. But I cannot act from that impulse. If I do that, I am taking negative impulses. I am faced backwards trying to move forward, and it doesn't work. It creates that negative boomerang crap energy thing that happens. Very destructive. It's a destructive vortex of chaotic energy that you begin the momentum of when you do that. And law of attraction will start making that momentum more if anybody holds on to those thoughts and carries them forward, which is what everybody does. So what do I do about this? Well, I had to decide for myself what was making me sad. Part of it was just this kind of by rote coming into my space and doing my show. Who am I? But I was building up this passion within myself that then had no outlet because there was no one around me to play with further. And I had gotten myself jacked up because I could see the possibility of us not doing what we're doing right now. Burning fossil fuel and forcing within 20 years. Now, this is a figure I got from the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, but I have no reason to doubt this figure. The power of life to strive forward in life, to live, is very, very powerful. The urge to abundance, the impulse to abundance is powerful. So I think that if we would stop our misalignment, humanity would take an enormous leap forward in abundance really, really quickly. I do believe that. I believe that that's true. On the other hand, what's standing in the way? The fact that everybody doesn't know who we are, that almost nobody knows who we are, how powerful we are, how capable we are, how important we are, how blessed we are. And the way that this divine matrix that we are embedded in and abide in, how fully cooperative it is. But what it does is it will keep smiling back at you as you keep finding genuine, authentic smiles within yourself. So okay, I am not happy with certain states of affairs on the planet. I am not happy with that. However, I can find my happiness anyway, in spite of the fact that certain conditions are not what I would prefer them to be. And it is necessary that I go find my happiness, and then from that point of being happy anyway, now I get the good ideas about how to actually bring that world that I can see in front of us, but isn't actually immediately around us, how I can help bring that world into being. That world where we are plugged into source energy, where everyone has enough, because there is enough, because we live in an abundance, a bounty creating universe of magnificent proportion. That it's if you go watch the movie The Secret, it's talking about law of attraction. It's trying to explain to you how the universe is a reflective, what's the right word? A reflective medium was what I almost said. A reflective medium. It's a it's reflecting you to you. And it's reflecting other people to other people. It has the capability of doing that. It's like a jewel. You are like a jewel, and a faceted jewel. And whatever facet you turn to the outside world, it flips that side and reflects it back to you. So the answer is, it's like a mirror. So if you want the mirror to smile, you can't reach out away from yourself and try to force the conditions to be something. Force that mirror to smile, so that then when you look out there, then it's smiling at you. If you want that to if you want to see the universe smiling, you've got to smile. And I wasn't seeing it smiling yesterday. I was being quite I was quite unhappy about my inability to find an immediate playmate to play with me. But actually, I think I have to just get more clear about what I want, because I haven't been all that clear that I wanted someone to play with me. I've been kind of general and vague about it. I would like my husband to play with me, but you don't always have the control, the fine-tuned control. I may be able to say, universe, give me someone to play with, but I cannot force who it is, because I don't have control over his vibration. And that's a good thing. No one has control over your vibration either. Did you know that? And that's a good thing. You have control over your vibration. And the reason that's important is because your vibration is what is orchestrating everything else in your life. The impulses that you have to rendezvous here rather than there, or to move this way as opposed to that way. It's orchestrating you and how you are meeting the universe. What aspects of it you are rendezvousing with, at what kinds of timing, to what desire fulfilling in the field around you. That's what is determining what your life is. That's how you're creating your own reality. By your vibrational output is pinging to the rest of the universe. And that aspect of the universe is what is available to you. It's a reflection, and the more things that you find within, I don't know, I was going to say a sentence, a sweeping pronouncement that I'm not sure that I'm fully clear about, so I won't. But the universe is a mirror, and like a mirror, that's how it can be holistic too, or holographic, because the mirror can reflect the wholeness in fractal reflections, like iterations of, I don't know, I'm just throwing words out now. So who am I? Who am I? And what am I supposed to be doing in my life? Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in my life, but I know that I cannot do it from a place of negative emotion. I cannot have my outrage about being lied to be my direct impulse to act. Although it does make for a really intriguing story. This story of mankind. We are in a way more interesting story than the local Natural History Museum would have you believe. And the local Natural History Museum is pretty interesting. But our story is way more interesting than that. Way more interesting than that. The intrigue involved and the first of all, I believe that we're genetically modified. I just think that we are. I think that that's the answer to why we are kind of clumsy on planet Earth, and why we have to consciously come to a place of understanding who we are in order for our equipment to operate properly. It's too easy to fall into believing a negative condition and becoming conditional, and believing that you have to change that condition before you can shift any energy within you. You know, that's just wrong. That is a misconception. Also, so I think so I started this. I think we're genetically modified, and I think that's the reason why we are the way that we are, and that why we have to figure it out consciously and then be conscious creators, because conscious creators will create light and love and harmony and allowance and co-creative endeavors with the field around us. That's what conscious creators will do. Unconscious creators create by default by simply observing, and when things don't go well, then you start acting from your negative self, and that is destructive. And we have never ceased to be destructive. We are destructive beings on planet Earth. The way that we create cities, anytime, now, are there a few indigenous exceptions? Yes. The Native Americans, but there's some exceptions to some of that too. Some indigenous people became more destructive they created deserts instead of lush abundance. It's not just modern human beings that have the tendency to be destructive. We all have the tendency to be destructive when we don't know who we are consciously and consciously lock into the field around us in a harmonious and abundant way. That would fix it. So I think we're genetically modified, and I think that whoever did it to us, I think that it was an illegal act on their part. They disobeyed their own prime directive for whatever reason that they did it. And then there's really interesting questions there. Why did they do that? Why did they do it? They needed to create a race of beings on planet Earth, maybe to help them. Now, that's one way to say it. Maybe we were their servants or their slaves, or at least their underlings, But maybe they created us to help them. Maybe they created us because they themselves are a race of genetically modified beings. And so to do this, they consider it, almost, they would consider us almost their children. That raises more questions. Is this a known formula that they did to us? Or was it an experiment? So interesting. I'm not sure how to find the answers to any of those questions conventionally. The answers exist in the universe, and everything is everywhere, so it is possible to find those answers somehow, at least for yourself. Now, if you posted them on the National Enquirer or something, even if it was absolutely true, most people probably wouldn't believe you. So I think that's interesting. And then even the idea that we're being lied to now, that's so intriguing. That is the juicy ingredients to the most amazing yarn, this crazy epic tale of eons. That's, by the way, not exactly the book I'm going to write, but it certainly could be a book that you could write, about who we are and where we are in time. Write it like a mystery novel or an adventure. I don't know. I have my own idea. And I think I'm going to move immediately into working on that right now. But I just wanted to make sure that I posted one more Who Am I show before my fan starts noticing, or my audience starts noticing that there are breaks. When just yesterday I promised that I would be here every day unless we were traveling, or unless, sometimes I get sick, sometimes I play very early golf. As we get into later times of the year, I will find that I have more working space, because the time I really have to work is in the dark before the rest of the world wakes up. I carve out this space for myself, and I just I try to make something happen. I get in touch with who I am, because part of this show is who am I, and part of it is who am I, and part of it's who am I. You get the idea. And who are you? Who am I as source energy? What is source energy? And how can my understanding of source energy help me do two things? Understand myself and my own little life, and what to do with myself. What am I called to do? How do I follow my bliss when I'm feeling mostly kind of neutral? I feel, my needs are taken care of, except for my children still sort of nibble on the edges of because if they don't get fully on their feet and find their way in this world, then I have to help them pay the rent, you know? And of course I want to, because I don't want to see, one of them has my grandchild, you know? I don't want to see them living under a bridge. I don't want to see them living, you know, really scarcity lives. So it is in my interest that I get a handle on this better, either to summon more abundance to myself so that I can flow more to them, or to help teach them so that they can flow it to themselves, or a combination of both right in this moment while everyone's trying to find their feet and their legs, and I don't resent any of that. It's interesting. The very act of finding your way in this world is an interesting exercise. Who am I? How do I identify who I am? Where does it end? There are so many different ways that you can demark that morphogenetic field, if you will, of who am I? I am an American. I am a human being. I am my atoms. I am my intentions. I am a student. I am a nurse. I am a doctor. I am a policeman. I am a housewife. I am a bowler. I am a Democrat. I am a Republican. I am an independent. I am whatever it is that I am. I am very close to... It just occurred to me, for the first time it resonated with me to call myself an independent. I think I want to take myself off of the roles of the Democratic Party, and I want to make myself independent, because I don't want the Democrats to think that they've got me in the bag. They may have me in the bag. I'm probably going to vote for the blue no matter who, but I do not for 1 second want them to believe that, you know. And if they piss me off hard enough, then I might just cut off my own nose to spite my face and let the mayhem ensue. That's Shiva energy within me, because I'm not an exception to the rule that what you do affects me and what I do affects you. And there's Shiva energy and demonic energy all over the place, you know, and it can make us crazy. It absolutely can make us crazy. So who am I, and where does this leave us? Because I may not do a show tomorrow. If what I have said today holds, I'm going to do something else in my studio tomorrow, and so I won't post a show tomorrow. I'll post day after tomorrow, or the day after that, or the day after that. Just keep your ears to the ground. Subscribe to my channel, and then when I post another show, it should tell you when you pull up your subscriptions. I think that's the way that works. I'm not enormously YouTube savvy, which is crazy, because that's the platform I've decided to be on. I should know about it a little bit more. So what message do I want to leave us with today? Kind of like a prayer. What message of hope and blessing and connection, and what words of wisdom to pass on until I see thee next. Know that you are worthy. Know that you are whole. Know that the universe is a wholeness. Wherever you are whole with this wholeness that is the universe. That's what the religions have been echoing forever. It's this wholeness that they feel, this part of being one with the Almighty. It's powerful. It's powerful. And you are safe in its arms. You are safe in the allness. Your physical mind does not have to make it happen. Just do not let the fear in your physical mind slow it down. Don't get in the way. Have faith. Know that everything is okay. Know that you are okay. You are good. You are here for a reason. So go out and find your reason. And your reason is fun. Know that the most blessed things that you are doing at any given time, the most beneficial activity that you ever do, is what you do from your own desire. From your own desire to do it. Because you want to. Not because you feel like you have to. The stuff that you feel, the stuff that you do because you feel like you should do it, is the destructive stuff that you do. It's the bad stuff that you do. You know, there was a lot of that horror that went on in the Holocaust, the actual killing of human beings, the actual act of it in the gas chambers and at the camps was committed by people who did it. Most of them were not doing it because they wanted to. If anyone was doing it because they really, really wanted to, then they truly were in a state of misalignment beyond what I'm even able to imagine as misalignment. But most of the time they did that because they thought they should do it because it would make the world better. Now, how screwed up is that? Screwed up. But what I'm saying is they didn't do, that wasn't what they did for fun. That was work. The stuff that we do for work is always the stuff that has the poison pill in it. The stuff that we do for fun, that we do for our joy, from our love impetus, from our brain and our heart being in harmonious alignment with one another. Those acts that we commit, those are beneficial unto this world. Those are a blessing and a benediction. Keep doing those things. We are supposed to be having fun. We are meant for joy. We are built for joy. Go find your joy. If you're in a state of negative emotion, step back from that and find yourself before you act. Now, I still want to have a positive effect on this question that I find the world in. I still want to move us to source energy and off of fossil fuel. It is still my intention to do so. But I'm going to have a bit of a task to find my way because I am not a physicist and I'm not the kind of person who's going to be inventing that device. I'm going to be the kind of person who's going to be trying to spread the awareness that that device is possible. And that the very fact that those devices of all different sorts are possible, that has been hidden from us. And it is causing scarcity, and I would like to see abundance bloom. I would like to see humanity come off of the brink. I think that all of life wants that. So I am working with the universe on that one. And I wish the same for you. Follow your joy. Follow your bliss. Follow your highest desires. Follow your love. Know that everything that you have ever loved in any moment of your life, there was a reason for that. So go find your love and pull it back to yourself and know that that is who you are. And now, that might be a little uncomfortable because some of you have left your love in the road behind you. You know, when you decided that you didn't love your ex anymore, You hate your ex now. And you move on and you just leave it right there. You hate your ex now and you have no access to the love that you had for them, which is a part of you that you have now left in the road behind you. It makes you not a whole person. It makes you only a piece of a person, not a whole person. Go find your love. Pull it back into yourself and understand what about that person you loved. It doesn't mean you need to be with that person. You moved away from them for a reason, and that's fine. Stay away from them. But whatever it was, you had a love at some moment. Find what that was and understand thyself. I think that's the probably the most poignant bit of advice that I could give to you. Find a place in yourself where you regret nothing, where you find your understanding of yourself, where you love yourself and know that everything you did was for a good reason based on what you loved. Now, if it was destructive and you don't like the way it turned out, then there's a reason for that too. And you need to understand that too. Come into awareness with the binary self that you are. Come into awareness of your alignment and misalignment. And when you're in alignment, how constructive that is, and how beautiful that feels, and how satisfying it is, and how well things turn out. And when you are not in alignment, acting from your negative self, turned backwards and acting anyway, what does that produce as far as your timing and how that works out? And then understand that it really is important for you to plug your plug into the right place. Don't plug it into the matter. Plug it into the formless, not the form. They are two aspects of the physical world, the form and the formless. The formless is bringing the form into being, and you are the formless, not the form. And yet you wear a cloak of form. You drive a vehicle of form. What's that all about? Your starship, your being of light, your vehicle of light. Anyway, we'll talk about it more. I'm gonna sign off for now. We're gonna leave it at right around an hour and a half. I think that's good enough. Hour and a half. We'll sign off for now, and I'll be back in a few days. And maybe I'll have some things to say. Maybe I'll have some more life under my belt so that I can be more helpful to you as you try to live your life, as I try to live my life. When you see me every single day, then maybe my little struggles aren't helpful. I can't bring them in. Yesterday I had a bout of negative emotion, which kind of makes me a little more insightful. Every time you are fortunate enough to fall into a moment of negative emotion, when you come back out of it, you will find a freaking gold mine of awareness information as you go, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. Ooh, I understand. And so hopefully after my little bout yesterday, I understand a bit more. And I'm going to go off and write my great American novel. I can hardly wait for that to be published. Actually, I can hardly wait for myself to get deep into the momentum of the throes of making that happen. That should be really exciting. So for my part, I'm going to sign off for now. And for your part, I hope you have a wonderful time of it. Go out there and practice your alignment. Practice your alignment. And when you're not in alignment and you fall into negative emotion, don't beat yourself up for it. You're okay. You're okay. Know that who you really are, is that sunny, happy self. So go forth and be happy. Find your happiness. Follow your bliss. I bid you peace. I don't like that as an ending line. I've been using it because I don't know what else to do. But I do wish you joy. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say as a sign off for the show. I really do have to have a better one. I like the end, but the lead up to it, haven't liked it so much, and I find myself floundering at the end. Oh, and I realize I now have actually passed the hour and 30-minute mark, which means I can sign off. So until I see you in a few days, hang in there. I love you. And know always that Source is with you. Source is with you. Amen.